Hey folks, if you thought my video yesterday about someone encouraging the legally mandated discrimination against white South Africans was crazy, I've just come across one that absolutely takes the cake. I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't just watched it with my own eyes. So we're gonna watch it together and I'm gonna give you my thoughts. Let's get started.
Right, but let's start here this morning. I mean, the Constitution allows fair discrimination, and employment equity is fair discrimination, but that's the word coming from Mzwanele Manye, a policy consultant.
Yeah, well, he weighed in on a debate on JJ Tabane's show that was partly sparked by that Dis-Chem saga. Now, if you're not sure what the saga is, let's remind you for a second. It was a leaked memo from Dis-Chem CEO Ivan Saltzman telling management the company was placing a moratorium on the appointment of white staff.
The law started, companies were allowed to set their own targets, and they failed to do this. They are supposed to set their own targets in line with economic active population. Now, if you look at the economic active population on a high level, what does it look like? About 75% is Africans. Let me make numbers easy for myself. About 80% is Africans, about 10% is coloreds, about another 10% it's whites, and you've got the Indians at 3%. Those are the economic active population. So if there's more than 100 on this number, then you must take from Africans, make it them 77 or something. So something to that effect. So that...
Okay, first off, look how flippant this guy is being with population numbers. If we are expected to take this so-called policy consultant seriously, I would think that the very first thing he should have in order is that he should be aware of the demographic numbers about which he is speaking. This is why, to these people, all this is just a game. They see this as a game. You can hear in the background there, the anchor is giggling along as this guy speaks. They are literally fiddling while this country burns.
Those are the economic active population numbers which are done by Stats SA, labor force surveys, all of that. These things get worked out. So when you say equitable representation, it's not some thumbsuck. We're saying at all levels of the organizations, you must reflect these numbers, top to bottom.
Must reflect the national demographics.
Yeah, not national, economic active population.
Okay.
Economic, because you see, the
yeah.
difference between national demographics and economic active population is that national demographic, let's say everybody at 60, but at 60 you might just find somebody's in jail.
Yeah.
And is not economically active, that person. At that particular number, somebody is a quadriplegic, is totally disabled, cannot do anything, as it were. There are quite a few things.
Well, surprise, surprise, he mentions quadriplegics, of which I happen to be one. And guess what? I can, in fact, do many things. And given the opportunity, I consider that I would, with my work ethic and skills, be able to make myself quite a success. However, my race is far more of a barrier to my economic prosperity than my disability is, because opportunities are simply denied to me because I am white.
That happen on the demographics. So that's why we have to be very granular with the language and talk about economic active population, so that we talk about people that can be usable in the economic space. So we've got to reflect those numbers. So companies were given the opportunity to do this, to set their own targets and all of that, and given time and monitor the targets and all of that. Companies failed to do this.
Okay, I'm glad that video was short, because I think if it were any longer than that, I would have lost my fucking mind. You notice there at the end, he talks about how companies were given the opportunity to do this. By do this, he means comply with this authoritarian employment law. It's basically like saying, we put a gun to your head and told you to do something, only we promised not to shoot you right away. Now, the time has expired, and if you don't do it, we will shoot you. That is not an option. That is not how a democratic society is supposed to work. That is basically a delayed execution, and that is what we are seeing happen to South Africa in real time right now. I think that South Africa will continue to persist for several years to come as people try to mitigate against the consequences and the effects of this legislation. But unless there is a major overhaul, we are all going to suffer. And what these activists either don't realize or don't care about is that at the end of the day, if they get what they want, it will be the majority black population that suffers. An important point that I want to make here is that, hypothetically speaking, if you had a country that only consisted of one homogeneous ethnic or racial group, you would still only have a very small percentage of those people with the natural aptitude to start and effectively run businesses. These activists see people as blank slates who can simply be slotted into any position as they see fit. You could see it in the way that that guy himself was talking when he referred to whether people are usable or not. They don't see people as individuals. They view people as cogs in a giant machine. And if they get their way, they will destroy everything that they get their hands on. For now, farewell.